everyone agrees that people acting superior are displaying big egos. But what about feeling inferior? If our ego is based in and motivated by fear, it's easy to see that when we feel scared, insecure, intimidated by, in awe of, or less than someone else, our egos are again the source of our pain. I could relate a bajillion instances of feeling the ache of not fitting in, not feeling worthy of speaking up, and wishing I could disapparate. And the younger I was, the worse it was. There are definite advantages to being old. You get to discover and benefit from truths as you gain an often agonizing experience. I'll never forget, in my late 20s, I was working at the headquarters of a computer company in Boulder, Colorado, and I was chosen to represent my department at a meeting of senior staff, including the president himself. My mom bought me a new Jones of New York suit, and I'd polished my presentation, and the big day arrived. I walked to the head of the huge conference table in that impressive boardroom and began my performance. I wasn't 5 minutes into it when the president said, "I don't see a sales strategy here," and he walked out of the room. In my defense, I wasn't in sales, but he was right. We needed a sales strategy for this brand new type of product before a support plan, my bailiwick, could be considered. I was in mild shock, but apparently the others had seen this reaction before. The VPs and directors felt sorry for me, I guess, because they invited me to stay for the rest of their meeting. I felt honored as I had been in awe of these older, wiser leaders whom I had no doubt were implementing a splendid vision, known only to them, as we underlings could seldom understand their decisions. I just assumed I wasn't privy to the whole picture. Well, were my eyes open to those, quote, visionaries I had placed up on a pedestal. They proceeded to argue like second graders. There was no plan, no vision, no brilliance, not even any basic order. Oh my gosh. Any feelings of my own inferiority to these perceived superiors flew out the window. We are all equal in that we all struggle and we're all learning. I'm listening to Obama's new book, A Promised Land, about his journey to and through his presidency. He tells of being summoned to the White House prior to the primary election for an emergency meeting called by the Republican candidate and joined by the other integral players. The object was to gain consensus on a strategy regarding the housing bubble that had burst, threatening total economic collapse. President George Bush wound up walking out of that meeting after a chaotic, unprepared group was getting nowhere, exactly as I'd experienced. And you can't find much higher level leaders than those. We are all equal, struggling and learning. In our own worlds, our voice and actions have just as much right and need to be heard and seen as anyone else's. It may seem counterintuitive, but when we feel self-conscious, afraid, and inferior, we're actually being selfish. Not only are we withholding what we have to offer from others, we're making the situation all about me. How will I feel? How will I be seen? And how embarrassed will I be? I. There's no cause to feel inferior when we follow our own path and our own soul's guidance. Offering to others what we have to contribute is how we shine that divine.